My name is Joseph Leahy, and this video is all about my teaching and learning philosophy. I will discuss my roles and responsibilities as a science teacher, then I will explore observations I have made with links to pedagogy, and finally I will summarise what my approach and overall teaching and learning philosophy is. Firstly, I believe as a science teacher, it is my responsibility to have a solid understanding of the ethical issues surrounding science and subsequently a consideration of the cultural and religious backgrounds of the students I teach. Often in science, we work on the basis of assumptions which can sometimes contradict religious or cultural beliefs of the students I teach. By being consciously aware of this and incorporating this understanding into my practice, I hope to develop a level of understanding and mutual respect between myself and the students. It is also essential that I keep abreast with the relevant developments within the scientific field and incorporate this into my practice. Studying science, students will often progress into either research-based professions or go on to higher education. By having an up-to-date understanding of the latest developments in this field, I can make the links between the content I deliver and its vocational context. In doing this, I can prepare the students to make informed decisions about their future. Thirdly, I believe that to be a science teacher, I must be a motivator. Science is all about discovery and a curiosity to explain the unknown. All of the great scientists, from Einstein to Watson to Curie, they were all driven by that same passion to discover and explain that which we previously couldn't. As a facilitator of science, it is my duty to inspire the next generation of scientists to seek those answers and take pride in this hunger for knowledge. And finally, this is not limited to science but all educational professionals. We have a duty of care to the students we teach. I resonate highly with Maslow's hierarchy and Glaser's choice theories in the sense that only when a student's basic needs are met can they achieve to their full potential. By ensuring students are safe and instilling a sense of togetherness in the classroom, I believe the students can and will achieve their goals. This also ties in specifically with my role as a science teacher by ensuring safety and setting an example in the lab. Often in practicals, we work with hazardous chemicals or potentially dangerous equipment. It is key that I set an example and show model practice to my students. As I've said previously, given the progression routes of the students I teach, a solid understanding of proper lab etiquette is essential. In one of my first observations, one piece of feedback I was given was that the instructions I delivered to the students were not entirely clear. I had set an activity, for example, yet failed to spot that some students remained puzzled as to what I was asking them to do. Through my observations, I have picked up some tips to improve my delivery of instructions. An example of this is emphasising keywords such as describe or explain. Furthermore, I now ask students to repeat instructions back to me. Acting on other feedback I have received, I now scaffold activities where appropriate, in accordance with the theory of scaffolding posed by David Wood and Jerome Bruner. This has been effective as it has broken down a set task down into more manageable chunks, ultimately allowing my students to make more progress in a lesson overall. I have illustrated this stepping stone approach to my students by using a ladder or pyramid as shown here, and asking the students, where are you on the pyramid? This method was inspired in part by Bloom's taxonomy. Another thing I have observed, which I have used in my lessons, is a settler or pre-starter activity. I observed the use of a pre-starter activity in a peer observation. Every Monday, that teacher would run a weekly quiz with her students. This was evidently a part of the classroom routine, as the students walked in, collected a quiz paper from the front, sat down and attempted the quiz. I was very impressed with the understanding regarding what the teacher expected from the students, and they were ready for the lesson instantly. I have begun incorporating the use of a pre-starter activity into my lessons as a way of reducing disruption at the start of lessons and getting students into the right frame of mind. I have found behaviour management to be one of the most challenging aspects of lessons. A key focus of mine, therefore, in peer observations was to see how those teachers both managed and dealt with challenging behaviours in lessons. One thing that I have noticed in my observations was the use of positive language and the effect this had on the classroom environment. As a result of this, two pedagogical theories I have integrated into my behaviour management are Skinner's theory of positive reinforcement and Rudolf Troika's social discipline model. In short, I try to be positive in everything I do in the classroom, to promote a positive environment in my classroom and positively reinforcing those desirable learner behaviours. I use this in conjunction with Troika's principle of logical consequences to address negative learner behaviours. For example, when addressing students who are late to lessons, rather than telling them off, I ask them, well, what is the consequence of you being late to lesson, or how is this going to impact your progress? I rely on this approach a lot, as I like the fact it detracts from using a negative disposition due to frustration, and rather poses the question to the students and thus encourages them to take responsibility for their own actions and overall learning experience. In this section, I am going to summarise my teaching and learning philosophy. I have already alluded to aspects of this in detail in my roles and responsibilities and my practices in lessons. In general, I believe my philosophies to teaching and learning to be interlinked and not two separate entities. I have previously mentioned positivity as a central aspect of my practice as a teacher. I believe it is my responsibility to generate a positive environment in my classroom through my attitude and communication in lessons. The same approach, in my eyes, should be applied to learning. A theory I apply here is Thorndike's theory of trial and error as an integral part of the learning process. In a scientific context, an example of this would be not getting the expected results in a practical. Self-evaluation is an important characteristic that I try to encourage in the students. I ask them, well, why doesn't it work, or what could we have done differently next time? This ability to self-evaluate, I believe, is essential in order to progress. This isn't just limited to the students, but myself as a teacher as well. I meet weekly with my subject mentor to discuss what I think has gone well in my lessons and what I could have done differently. Conversely, I share advice with my peers, who like me are just starting out on their teaching journey, as I hope to one day be in a position where I can offer effective guidance to less experienced teachers. These aspects of continuous reflection and continually looking to improve as a professional and an individual are central to anything I do. This is the mentality that I portray to my students. In my first few months of teaching, one thing that I've realised is that there is no comprehensive guide or model on exactly how you should be or act as a teacher. I have observed many other teachers to date, and each individual had their own unique style or presence in the classroom. What I have derived from this is that personality in the classroom is important in developing a relationship with the students you teach. In a recent observation I had, I was praised for the way in which I communicated with the students in what was described as a relaxed manner. It was clear to the observer that there was a mutual understanding between myself and the students. They know that I tried to incorporate a sense of humour into lessons, but at the same time know when I'm being serious. By being myself or being genuine, I like to think that I've developed a level of respect and understanding between myself and the students. So personality in my teaching, I believe, is an important aspect of my approach to teaching and learning.